All right, let's see what Dr. Alina Kastner has to say.
My ladies, I know why you keep picking out that bad guy out of all those good guys and keep going back to him. What do bad guys have that good guys don't? They make you feel safe. They make you feel safe in a way that good guys can't do because they are fully in control of every situation that you're going through with them. They tell you when they're going to pick you up. They tell you where they're going to take you. They're dominant. They show that macho, manly allure. They sneak you into their charm and make you feel like they've got life under control. The other part is the thrill, the risk, the danger, all of those things where you can prove yourself, you can show them that you're worth it, you enjoy being feminine and being in that feminine energy with them, right? The fact that he's not controllable makes him unpredictable, and unpredictable is always exciting. You never know what his next move is gonna be. You never know how he's gonna sweep you off your feet again or hurt you. You never know how he's going to plan the next day or if he's gonna pick up the phone. That leaves you wanting more and more and more. It leaves you interested. He's not someone you can box in. He's different. All the qualities I just described make him more masculine. It makes you fiend for him. It's like that movie 365. He's got everything a woman ever wanted, right? It makes you want to be his girl. That leads me to the topic of usually bad guys are really good in bed. They give you what you need. You are not going to have boring sex with a bad guy. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be different. He might even open up worlds that you've never seen before. Worlds that used to be like distant fantasy in some really great movie, in a really cool fantasy book, but it's not going to be real. And with this guy, it can be reality. This one's for my lady.
I mean, yeah, she pretty much nailed all of it, right? She's telling you guys the secret. So yeah, girls want all of these things. Now, I don't think that a bad guy needs to necessarily only do this and not have actual value. I know a lot of guys reach this point through manipulation only, right? So they show off a certain exterior and then behind the scenes, they don't always end up doing what they claim they can do, right? And some girls will, be suckers for the exterior, and then as time goes on, it changes. I would say though, I always tell you guys, it's always better to be this guy than it is to be the good guy, because the good guy is set up to be used, right? This guy though lives life on his terms. And I think you can do this in a way where you live life on your terms, but you still can have a girl in your life and have it not be too toxic to the point that there's no stability in it. I do believe there is an equation that can be applied. And I mean, I try to teach you guys that equation all the time, right? And as you can see, she's even admitting it herself. He cannot be manipulated, lives life on his terms. So clearly, and even she said, oh, or be hurt by. So even by saying that, she's aware, and whether that's because of herself, maybe she's aware that she herself enjoys this, and I'm assuming other women, of course, right? They like being hurt in specific ways because girls always know what's going on, but they want to feel like they're in a story. Okay. And I always tell you guys this about the fantasy. So I'm really glad that she touched on this, right? This idea of the fantasy. Girls love this storybook life. Okay. That they can feel all these different things. The issue is most of the time, like what that fantasy life looks like in their head versus the minor differences that happen in reality can lead to that breaking apart, which is why a lot of girls are always going to try to frame the bad guy. And by the way, I just want to quickly point out bad guy, good guy, alpha, beta, right? These are all synonymous terms for this idea of a guy that lives on his terms versus a guy that lives on everybody else's terms. That's all that this concept is, okay? So when we throw around the term alpha male, right? Yes, textbook, no such thing as alpha males within the human species, but it's simply what do you live for? So it's purpose driven. The main point I want to get back to here is the difference between the fantasy that they think in their head versus the fantasy in reality. In reality, if you are this type of guy, it pretty much always comes from experience, right? So you have to have experience, A, and B, you have to have tons of options, right? Because how else can you act in such a way where you're so nonchalant about certain things? Completely fearless, right? And I think a lot of girls, they like this part of the fantasy, but they hate the reality side of it, right? They hate the reality of where it actually stems from and comes from. But they can't help what they're actually attracted to. Okay, because as a guy, there's no other way to really get here other than through insane mental gymnastics to try to learn from somebody else, or of course, experience. And the best of both worlds is, or sorry, a mixture of both is genuinely the best way to accomplish that in the most efficient manner, right? So it's important to understand why this is so important. And notice she also touched on the security. Somehow, the guy that lives on his terms is counterintuitive, right? Because he's seen as the bad guy, right? But yes, he instills more security in the woman because she's able to exist in her feminine, right? He handles the decision making completely, so she never has to really worry. Handles the security part of it. A good guy lives on everyone else's terms. She can't rely on him the same way, even though he might have the perfect job or whatever, whatever. These are all logical things. Girls don't care about logical when it comes to attraction. Girls care about how they feel, okay? And when they become attracted to somebody, it's always entirely feeling based. If they have to think about it, you are in that good guy, beta category, whatever you want to call it. Nice guy, right? If she sees you, right, it's a visceral reaction within her where she feels immediately emotionally affected by you. This means you are in the bad guy, alpha, whatever you want to call it, category. And the ideal scenario for you as guys is to be in that alpha, whatever category you want to call it, bad guy category, but you want to make sure that if you do want a long-term relationship with a woman and you want to maintain that long-term, then you're going to have to very carefully create a system where you satisfy that part of her, but are still able to create enough stability that she won't start to get her anxiety too crazy to the point that, she's worried about what other girl you have coming in the door every 2 days. Okay. So there is some sort of balance here that you can reach. And this is what you got to focus on. And this is where you'll find the best relationships. If you want to learn exactly how to accomplish this, make sure to click the link in the description below to check out my Patreon. I have a bunch of private content on there that'll help you with all of this. Plus, you'll get to interact with me.